Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Journey to the Parliament. And where I'll talk with people who've been to the Parliament and who are going to the Parliament of the World's Religions, August 14th to the 18th, 2023, a little more than a year from now when we recorded this, and the excitement about that. Today, we're talking to the Right Reverend Laurie Denman, Master of Records, Dean of Witch School, and so many other positions that she helps out with. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, Ed. How are you?
Good. People always ask me, why aren't you more formal with people? But these are my friends, so it's very hard sometimes to be formal all the time. But so what is your position that you see yourself as you're heading towards the Parliament? What is it as a parliamentarian that you're bringing other than yourself?
Well, I'm not presenting this time. I presented back in 2015. So that gives me a luxury of being able to be a little bit more flexible about how I spend my time at Parliament. I do enjoy reconnecting with people from other faiths at Parliament that have become my friends over the years. And I enjoy learning about other religions. The Correllian religion respects all religions. And so I feel like it's part of my growth spiritually to learn about other religions. And no better place in the world to do it than at Parliament of World Religions.
I agree with that. Now, you went to the 2015 and the 2018 physical. Those are the first two that you attended. We all bought into the 2021, which was an interesting process of a virtual one. But what is your best memory or your most memorable moment at the Parliament?
Well, I really have one for each Parliament, it seems.
Why don't you go ahead and share those?
In 2015, it was held in Salt Lake City, Utah, and it had a strong Indigenous presence, not only from local Indigenous, but from around the world. And one of the things that they blessed us with was a sacred fire. And at that sacred fire, each morning as the sun rose, we would do ritual, and it would be led by a different group of Indigenous people at each ritual. And then at night, at sunset, there was another ritual. And at the first one that I attended, I was standing next to Lady Selena Fox. And we were thoroughly enjoying the ritual. And some people were taking pictures. And one of the young women leading the ritual got very upset and basically said it was disrespectful to take pictures. And this is known of Indigenous culture. So I wasn't surprised that she said it. But after the ritual, I went up to her and I told her how much I enjoyed the ritual. And I understood her request for no photography, but I wanted to give her a different paradigm. And when I started talking to her, the grandmothers started gathering behind her, sort of like they're going to be there for reinforcements if needed. But I told her, we are a worldwide religion. Correllians are in 112 countries around the world. So we photograph, we film everything so that we can share it with our members around the world as a teaching opportunity, as an opportunity to bond as the Correllian family. And maybe she ought to think about the paradigm of teaching, in that, yes, these rituals that they were offering were teaching moments for those that attended the Parliament. However, that was a very limited audience. And by sharing pictures, by sharing the ritual live, they could reach so many more people. And at first, she was very resistant to that, but then the logic started setting in. And after we had our discussion, we hugged and it was wonderful. And one of the grandmothers came up to me and she thanked me for how I used that as a teaching moment and how the perspective was welcome. And from that moment on, I never missed a fire circle. I'd get up before dawn and walk down to the fire circle, which was quite a hike for me. And at night, before I went to bed, I'd go back to the fire circle and bring offerings for the fire and gifts for the fire keepers, because the sacred fire is never left unattended. So that was my most memorable moment. You would think it was my presentation, but no, it wasn't. It was that connection to another religion, another culture, and both of us sharing paradigms that we could respect for each other. My favorite moment at the Toronto Parliament of World Religions was the closing ceremony for the fire circle. Excuse me one moment. I do need to take a sip because I have COPD, and when I talk a lot, it acts up.
Oh, I understand 100%.
So at the closing ceremony, I had not gone to many of the fire circles at Toronto because I was having mobility issues and I could physically not get there easily. So I went to the closing one and we formed our circle. Many Correllians were there. Standing to my left was Lady Angela Munn, and standing to her left was Lord Don Lewis. Now, Lord Don is the first priest of the Correllian tradition, and Lady Angela is an archpriestess like I am. And we did the hugging ceremony, which is a typical closure ceremony to an Indigenous gathering, where the people from the fire circle pick a point in the outer circle to start a hug. And the person to that right of that person that they pick is the last person hugged. So they started with Lord Don, and as the circle moved, all the people from the inner fire circle hugged Lord Don, and then Lord Don hugged the person to his left. And he went around the circle until finally Lord Don arrived back at Lady Angela and hugged her. The people that were holding the fire circle then went back to the fire and explained that Lady Angela was the grandmother of the Correllian tradition, something that we had not had prior to that, but was proclaimed at that fire circle without any knowledge from the Correllians. But it was totally accepted because the Correllian Nativist Church has Cherokee roots from our founder. So the Indigenous part of our practice, it made total sense for the tradition to have a sacred grandmother. Unbeknownst to the people at the fire circle, Lady Angela is a Correllian shaman, as am I. But Lady Angela has taken her studies further and studied shamanism around the world. So she is the ultimately qualified person within the tradition to fill that office. And she has been known as the sacred grandmother of the tradition since. And that was my most memorable moment at Toronto.
And it is one of mine for sure. That is an exceptional one. So as we're heading now into the Parliament, I know that the Correllians this time are looking to make a better presence by registering more people, but also representation. We're doing fundraising for representation. As the head of Witch School, as the dean of Witch School, and for all practical purposes, our glorious leader into the next generation of Witch School, which I think is an important part. What do you think that, what is it that you're looking at this next Parliament? Is there something you're looking for? Just the experience, and bringing more Correllians and other pagan faiths into coming to the tradition, to
Well,
the Parliament?
we started a Facebook group many years ago for the Utah
Mm-hmm.
Parliament called Correllian and Friends to the Parliament of World Religions. It's a Facebook group. And we invite people from all paths to join us there. And it is a group that we do logistics in. We apply for group discounts, which now go for us as a special accommodation through the end of July. And we can get you in for a discount rate if you join, register for the Parliament through us. And then we also coordinate logistics for accommodations. We try to find group housing. In Utah, we were in a timeshare condo building. In Toronto, we arranged several Airbnbs. Ours slept 9. And this really lowers the cost for the attendees. We also use the group while we're at Parliament to coordinate evenings out, family dinners, those kind of things. Through that group, I have made friends with many people from other paths that I always look forward to connecting with at Parliament. The thing that is going to make this Parliament different for me is this will be the first time that we've had a booth, that we've had a representational space. And I see me spending many, many hours volunteering at that booth, talking to people about what which school is. It is the seminary of the Correllian tradition. But more importantly, it's a 20-year-old online education opportunity for pagans anywhere around the world for any path. We have 140 classes. There are opportunities to show our educational materials outside of Witch School through Correllian Publishing. We'll have our books there. We'll have our elders there that can attend the Parliament, people that can talk to. We'll have ordinary Correllians there that may not have a higher office, because higher offices in the Correllian tradition are really bestowed based on work that you do for the tradition. But every member is valued. And so you'll be able to talk to people to see what it's like in the root ground of the tradition as well. So this is going to be a big change for me. Usually I spend most of my time trying to get from presentation to presentation to presentation because I love learning so much, but a big chunk of my time this time will be allocated to manning our booth.
I think that's going to be very interesting. And so if you can attend the Parliament, people can still help by donating to this representation we're looking for.
Absolutely. Going to the Parliament as a person can be significant. You have your fee, you have your accommodation, you have your plane fare. However, being in Chicago for North American pagans, you'll never have a better opportunity. But for a tradition that wants representation, there's hefty fees that go with exhibit hall space and other things that are available. And we are doing fundraising. It's going to be a long year of fundraising for the tradition, targeting those funds towards the Parliament. We have on our Correllian.com website, we have a page that you can access, Correllians to the Parliament. And through that page, you can find a link to our fundraising efforts. We have items for sale. Lady Stephanie has donated a large amount of her books to sell on the website. We have offerings of jewelry, pagan jewelry. We have, we're going to hold special events. I know I'm on board to host one or more crystal nights where we can do crystal purchases. I don't know if you've ever seen it, you have a grid, and each grid has a crystal piece on it, and you either pay what's on it, or there's two boards, usually one for larger pieces and then one for a mixture of smaller pieces that are put together. So those are going to be fun. We have people that are doing readings, with the proceeds of the readings going to the tradition. So any way that we can offer a value item that will help us get to the Parliament and have the representation in the booth, any assistance would be of great help to us. There's also a donate button, where if you just believe in the cause and you want to make a donation, you can click that donate button and donate any amount that you feel is appropriate. And those funds are segregated away to support the Parliament effort.
So one last question. This year's motto, and I want to know what it means to you, is defending freedom and human rights is the theme. Call to compassion, conscience, they call it, call to conscience. I find it very interesting, but what do you think of the call to conscience, defending freedom and human rights? Is this year's Parliament's theme?
Well, there are so many, keeping with the theme of religion, there are so many religions under attack around the world. We have countries that have made it country policy to persecute certain religious groups, and the Parliament needs to address that, needs to address the right to have freedom of religion. Every religion doesn't have to make sense to everyone. It just has to make sense to the person practicing it. And so as those known institutionalized persecutions happen, we need to be a voice. We need to be a united voice. But we also need to prevent that practice from spreading. There is around the world a concerted effort to put less value on certain religious choices that people have made. And to a Correllian, that's totally unacceptable, because all religions are valued equally by a Correllian. So it's part of my faith and my duty to my faith to defend every religion, and not just my own. So this topic really hits home for me religiously. Also around the world, there is a renewed effort to remove rights from our female population. The right of body autonomy, according to the UN, is a basic human right. And in the majority of states in the United States, we lost that last week. And we need to religiously unite to defend a woman's right to say what happens to her body in any aspect, reproductive, medical treatments for any disease. We all, old age, dementia, whatever it might be, we as human beings have the right to decide what happens to our body. Another issue I think falls under the human rights is our LGBTQ communities. We do not have the right to tell people who they can love. We do not have the right to tell someone what body appendages they must have, or how they must identify themselves if it is not right for that person. So while the topic doesn't sound broad, it's very broad, because many, many things fall under the category of human rights. Even if I don't believe in abortion, because my personal belief is that when a cell splits, it's life, but that's my personal moral code, and I don't have the right to impose that on someone else. So we need to kind of keep our moral codes within our own aura and not impose them on other people. And when we see other people being denied those rights, if we remain silent, we are an accomplice. We are condoning that behavior. And we can't allow that to happen, because when that gets out of control, we wind up with situations like we did that caused World War II and the things that happened during World War II. We can't go back. We can't go back. We are evolutionary beings, and we need to evolve, not devolve.
It's a very important message. And so for people who are interested, witchpool.com is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, around the world. And you've seen a lot of change in that. I understand that. It's very interested. In 2009, it was represented at the Parliament as a interface solution to education. We do offer that. And I know you have a lot of things on there. And I guess we're looking forward to having everyone travel out there and spend time with us. And I think do you have any last comments before we go?
If you are on the fence about attending Parliament, get off the fence. Go. It is a life-changing experience. The work that the people do who attend the Parliament is changing the world, community by community, cause by cause, country by country. And this is an opportunity to learn what you as an individual can do to change the world for the better. It's not just learning about religions, it's learning about activism, it's learning about what can be done to change something that you're passionate about changing in the world. If you're curious, maybe you're not on the fence yet, but you're just kind of looking at the top of the fence, reach out to us through Correllian and Friends to the Parliament. You can reach me at Laurie, Laurie, at witchschool.com. And I'll always be happy to talk to anybody about attending the Parliament, answer any questions that they may have.
I think that's a great space. Thank you, Reverend Laurie, for being with us, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much, Ed. You have a blessed day.
And make it a good one.